Well, hello everyone. Don Garman here from Mirador Capital Partners. Here again, another month has gone by, so I thought we would check in again. Here we are in September, post Labor Day, kind of like unofficially the last sort of weekend of summer for the Wall Street people. Everybody still taking those last few days off, and probably we will know more about the real tone of the market starting next week. But it's still a reasonable time to check in and share a couple of updated themes and thoughts about sort of where we are as we go into the last 4 months of the year. If you can believe that, hope everyone has had a nice, relaxing summer. So the the August chop, which so far has given way to the September chop as well, is not uncommon, considering that on the index level, it's been a reasonable year. It really hasn't been, if you look too far below the surface. There's a lot of things, a lot of big blue chip companies that are still down quite a bit for the year. So it's sort of, we've all talked about it and heard about it, the Magnificent Seven, the big, technology companies have provided the real leadership of the market this year, the ones that did the worst last year, and then they did well the year before. So we've got a little bit of that whipsaw effect going on. But they certainly appear to be the certainly popular, but obviously the well understood growth-ish stories of the market, because really, actually, even those companies aren't growing very much. So I'm going to key in on something that I talk about nearly every month, which is something has shifted in the expectations about forward earnings. Not drastic, but where I have been talking about how earnings expectations for 2023 were coming down. When we looked a year ago, they were expected to be $250, $255 this year. And they have come all the way down, where at one point we were expected to do $218 of earnings actually this year, down from $250. As that got priced in last year, that accounted for a lot of the weakness that we were experiencing. And then lo and behold, it stopped going down. It really stopped right around 218. And now the expectations for the remainder of this year are back to 220. So it isn't important necessarily that 220 is achieved. What is important is that it stopped going down. Then in traditional, typical, predictable, unimaginative style, Wall Street always expects forward earnings to be up 10 to 12 in the next year. So now we're back to that 250 or so expectation for 2024. We will know, more as time passes, if that's even remotely achievable. But we do care directionally about the indexes, but we care much more about the companies that we own. That's part of what I like about our style, is we look at the companies more than we do the indexes. And that gives us an additional layer, in my opinion, of protection and comfort through time to be able to choose what risks we want to be exposed to. So, what I wanted to also highlight was a new theme. If you've followed underneath the strategies, there have been new companies that have been added, and they have this element in common. My own opinion, which is driven by the fact that I'm 53 with in a good career in my peak earning years, and while the consumer, the low-end consumer, is super tortured right now. Inflation, wages are trying to keep up, but not really keeping up for the average family. They don't have very much savings. It's a hard time. And I don't want to be glib about that very real fact. However, there are a lot of people, and I see them and I know them, and they are not, they have saved and prepared and are in a relatively good situation with their savings. And 18 months ago, all of the cash that we all had yielded zero. Today, it all yields 5. So the 5% on the cash has been somewhat of a, I don't want to use the term stimulus, but it's been an additional income flow that is available and unplanned for. So this has created a different consumer, in my opinion, one that now has some additional excess cash flow that will be spent, and will be spent at a higher end, experience or travel, or restaurant, or mall stop or Amazon or wherever, because that is what happens. That's what we do. Not everybody and not all of it will be spent, but a lot of it will be spent. And that is going to create a benefit for a certain subset of companies that we've been adding, because their prices have come way down. But in my opinion, I think their future earnings will be strong on the back of this higher end consumer supporting these particular set of companies. So time will tell. I liked the prices we were able to get them for. So we will be cautiously optimistic and monitor them as we always would. I'm going to end on this note, which is we have a new hire here. I haven't announced it firm wide yet. He's on the website if you want to peek. His name is Jackson Vickers, and he's new to the firm, and he's been here a couple months, and moved here from Arizona. And what we've asked him to do, or tasked him with, is really getting the financial planning delivery mechanism under control and delivered the way I think Mirador wants to deliver stuff, which is a very proactive, high-touch approach. What I've learned about financial planning in 30 years is that it requires a sustained effort, not forever, but for some period of time. 7 months, 8 months, a year, because there's a checklist of things that need to be kind of covered. It's too much to do in one meeting. It's too much to do in 1 month. It really takes a sustained effort for a period of time, and somebody needs to make that their sole focus, their only job to do that. And so we have an additional capability also to review and evaluate your estate planning documents. We actually can now take you all the way through a redo of your estate plan in-house, a new capability for us. We can't do it free, and it isn't free, but it's a very heavily discounted price compared to what people are charging for it elsewhere. We view it as somewhat of a service that is, we always get asked about it, and it was really my goal coming into this year to be able to deliver this in in what I would regard as a Mirador way, which means a lot to me. So you'll be hearing more about this coming up, but if it's of interest, I would certainly indicate that so we can make sure you're in the queue to have this done. This is going to be a more and more important aspect of our client's journey, because my peer group are moving out of the kid raising stuff. I know the job never ends, but we're empty nesters, new empty nesters, and now we go into a different phase. And so having an eyeball on what's next over the next 10 years is going to be very important for all the people that are in my category. So more on it later. Reach out if you want to hear more, and get in the queue if you're interested in sampling some of that and what it means. So on that note, I will leave it here, and happy September, and I hope everyone had a nice Labor Day, and I will check in. If not sooner, then I'll check in October for sure for the last quarter of the year. So bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.